Welcome to Smokey and Spike Productions. During my last video, I had processed a preliminary sample of this very same crushed ore from the Yellow Hammer mine from a bulk sample I received from my friend Striker from LS Prospecting. You may be asking yourself what is with the pay dirt bag. I'm gonna send some of this stuff off to Shannon at Goldpan and Suntan for his techniques to process to see what he thinks of the material. Stay tuned for that video as well. For those out there who've ever received something from me from a collaboration video or a giveaway, you know I'm a little excessive on my packaging. I don't want it to be damaged during shipping. I should have been recording that. There's a wrestling match trying to get it in there. Now to find the right size shipping box to send this out. That should be my thumbnail right there. Time to go for a ride. That's one heavy box. How about a preliminary smelt without a collector metal from the Yellow Hammer Mine concentrates? Borax, some concentrates, 1-to-1 ratio. Hopefully I have enough propane to complete this smelt. One more borax should be good. Gotta leave room for some boilage. Ready, set for a preliminary smelt. It's gonna be a close one. That gauge is pretty low. While that's smelting, I'm gonna work on high grading, classifying, and rinsing the bulk sample through 40 mesh. Got a nice smelt going, looking real good. The smelt came out pretty good. I did not use a collector metal during this smelt to establish a baseline to see if there's enough values contained within the ore. Go for the flip. Nice. Yeah, these tongs need to be seriously retensioned. They are not functioning correctly. There we go. The slag looks really good. No matte layer whatsoever. Having the steel rod inserted in the crucible during the smelt really helped. And I believe there's my metallic bead right there without a collector metal. Here's the little bead's weight from the preliminary smelt. Not too bad. Time to proceed with the rest. To save myself an extensive amount of labor, I'm gonna rinse all the crushed ore, pick through it, high grade it, and crush only the high grade pieces and process the material on the shaker table. The goal is to reduce all of this into a reasonable amount to crush. By high grading it will save me a lot of time and labor, and we'll have a better idea of the values. One scoop at a time. I'm gonna go through and take all the delicious looking stuff out like this to crush with more visible metallics or pyrites. First two in the bucket for later crushing. Here's a really good example of the high grade I'm selecting out of the bulk for crushing. That is a nice piece right there into the bucket. During my search through the high grade, I believe I've come across a piece of native gold from the Yellow Hammer mine. I've set it next to some other pieces with actual pyrite. Here's the high grade I've selected out of the sandbag from my preliminary sample crushing. Now for the humongous bulk of the material to go through and high grade. Finally, the last bit of material I'm cleaning and picking out the high grade. The first piece I picked out is just amazing. That is not going to be crushed. That is a specimen keeper. That is just a beautiful sample there. A little closer look in some direct sunlight. Here's all of the ore I've went through and selected out only the high grade pieces. I'm sure there's still values existing. I've decided not to proceed with the rest, only to process this material in the bucket. That may be 1 or 2 cylinders worth in the ball mill, a whole lot better than 15. Now I'm going to let all this air dry several hours in the warm sun before loading it up in the ball mill and crushing and classifying. After all this is crushed and classified, I'll drain out the pool here, collect the sediment from the bottom, mix it with the rest, and run it on the shaker table. This material really should be dried and crushed finer before running it on the shaker table. I'm going to run it on the shaker table anyway, just in case there's any bigger particulates of gold in there. Go big or go home. Let's try all of this in one cylinder. Let's see how well Frankie does. I think the machine can handle it. Yeah, I'm sure it can. Escapees. Three of the big bearings. 5 of the smaller ones. Lock on the cap. There we go. Plug it in and let's get this stuff crushed. Go! The high grade has been crushed and classified. Now I just need to pre-saturate the material and get the shaker table ready. It's time to shake the concentrates out of the yellow hammer mine samples. As you see, the red buckets are my ballasters and weight to keep the table stable. Try my gold collecting bowl. integrate it into the system to see how well it does. I don't know if the shaking will affect the gold collecting bowl. We'll give it a try anyway. I got the system ready. Surfactant is in the water. Time for the first scoop. Hopefully this will work and I'll see some shiny. There's the first scoop. Let's watch it run down the system. Make sure it's operating. Looks like I got it leveled pretty good. That's much better. I had to use some bungee cords on those buckets. Much more stable now. Proceeding with the next scoop. Tuned real good right now. I think this is the best I've ever had this set up. All done with the sediment that collected on the bottom of the kiddie pool while I was high grading, classifying, and rinsing the ore. Now I gotta pre-saturate the crushed high grade and get it ready for the table. I've worked with a lot of different types of crushed ore. This stuff takes the cake on being the most smelly. Go for the first gooey scoop of the high grade. Gooey and smelly. Hopefully that doesn't destroy my pumps. Maybe I need to add a little bit more water, kind of thick. That's much better of a consistency. Should run on the table much faster now. There we go, that's better. Taking its time. Really fine. Frankenmill does a great job crushing most types of ore. It's still pretty thick. If I drop it right in front of these two water jets, it seems to work perfectly fine. There we go. I don't want to push too much water through the system and blow out all the flour gold if there is any. Even with the vibration, it still has a nice spinning action going. All of the high grade crushed yellow hammer mine samples has been ran across the surface of the shaker table. I'm gonna let it run a little while longer and let this portion clean itself out a little bit better. Then run some fresh water through the system, then I'll do the clean out. Time for the cleanup. Having the cleaning bowl integrated into the system has made a major difference. Should be much less material to pan. Really easy to disassemble. Just disconnect the pump, pour off the water, then you put it in a cleaning pan. Quite a bit of material in there still. Here's the bucket that was right below the cleaning bowl. Here's the bottom bucket. There's a little bit of extra material that went through the system. Really light material. From here, I'm going to do the same consistent procedure. Clean out the bowl, place it in the finishing pan, and remove the magnetics, and see if there's any gold. I've got to give Shannon at Gold Pan and the Suntan in New Mexico a huge shout out. I'm still using this well-designed magnet he originally showed on one of his videos. It works great. There's the magnetic material I removed. Surprisingly, a lot less in there than I thought there would be, compared to my previous samples with Yellowhammer Mine when me and David Black went out there. Cheers to heavy pans, everybody. I hope there's some gold in there. Let's find out. If anyone has had any experience panning material that contains tungsten, you know my pain right now. That is exactly why I built the gold collecting bowl, to help alleviate the panning process. There's quite a variety of heavy elements consistent in that ore. I'm gonna have to take a chance, dry this up and smelt it. Hopefully I'll have enough propane. I'll use a collector metal and my very last Cupel dish. Hopefully I'll have a shiny button once completed. 156.79 grams of concentrate. Sounds kind of weak. I hope I can complete this smelt. I'm definitely really low on propane. I might just barely make it. I got my steel rod in there. Anybody want to look at some nice glowing red hot smelting equipment? Gotta love it. Once the smelt has cooled off outside, I'll break off the slag, put the prill inside that Qpel dish with my previous smelt from the same concentrates. The slag looks really good. Emptied out the first cone mold. No precious metal bead in that one. This one should contain the values. Here's my matte layer. And there's a lead prill to Qpel. I used 60 grams as a collector metal. There's the prill. That doesn't look good to Qpel. I'm going to try it anyway. There's some loss already. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to weigh the matte layer. Interesting. 26.70 grams. Preheating the Qpel dish. Then I will load up. Let's take a peek. The lead has melted. The kiln is at temperature. The real magic should start happening. Less than 22 minutes left on the timer. I hope there's a little bead in that Qpel dish. I really do. All or nothing right now. Wish me luck. One little teeny tiny bead. It doesn't even look like gold. It's just silver. I really doubt the bead will even register on the scale. I'm gonna give it a try anyway. Barely even see the thing. Nope, didn't even register. The plus side, you've seen my entire process. Thank you for watching Smokey and Spike Productions. Have an awesome day.